Alrighty, we have a circuit board here. We're going to be replacing some, putting some new caps on it. We're going to use our soldering iron and some rosin core solder. So we'll take our new capacitor. We'll look at our holes here. We'll line the plus and the minus up. So you put the minus where the little minus sign is here. Set it in like that. Turn it over, and you'll see your two lead sticking up here. So we'll take our screwdriver and we'll bend one lead this way a little bit. We'll bend this lead over this way a little bit so the cap will stay in. And I'll bring the camera down close so you can see the soldering. We have electrical or electronic solder. This is the thicker stuff, and this is rosin core. And also we have some much finer solder, which is for electronics. It's rosin core. And also we have some electronic solder paste that is for electronics. When you buy the solder paste, you want to make sure it says it's for electronics, and this says it is for electronics. So the key to soldering is nice and clean, so we'll just brush it off like that there. We'll take our thin solder, we'll take our iron, we'll clean our tip, we'll tin our iron here a little bit, we'll heat the pad, and get a nice clean solder joint. See how that didn't fill the joint? So we're going to use some solder paste here. We'll dip our soldering iron wire into the paste, and we'll put it on the hole there that we're going to solder. A little on this one and a little on this one here. I'll clean my iron again. I'll put just a little bit of solder on my iron here, and I'll go underneath and I'll push up on my part, and I'll heat the solder. See how I get a nice clean solder joint there? Clean our iron, tin our tip a little bit, and we'll solder our other lead. See how I get a nice clean solder joint here and here? I'll put a little solder on our tip so we don't ruin it. Okay, so now we'll do this one up here. So we'll take our capacitor and we'll put our minus where the minus goes. The minus goes up in here like this. We'll push it down like that there, as close as we can to our board. We'll turn it over. We'll bend our leads over a little bit to where we want them. Bend one this way a little bit, and bend this one a little bit, bend that one over just a bit so it stays in place. And again, we'll take our little bit of our flux, we'll put some around our lead here. You don't want to leave too much on there. And I'm going to bring the camera down really close so you can see this one. Okay, so we'll solder this one here. We'll put a little solder on our iron. We'll heat the lead and the pad. Get just a nice bit of solder there. And we'll do the same on this one. Clean our tip. Tin our iron a little bit. Heat the pad and the tip. And the lead. See how we get a real nice clean solder joint on these two right there? Okay, now we'll put our other two capacitors in. One goes right here. We'll put our minus where the minus goes. We have to spread our legs apart a little bit on our capacitors here, not a lot. So we have to pump this hole out just a little bit on our other side. See right here? So we'll take our solder pump. Heat the pad, take our pump, pump the hole out. And we'll put our, they're both the same value. So we'll put one right in here. Push it down into the board like that. We'll flip it over. Find our two components. We can bring, there's some solder in the hole there, so we push it up in like that. So we have a good spot here, so we'll get a little flux here. We'll put some flux on our, where is our lead now? It's easy when you have a lot of components to forget where your hole is. So we're right here. Okay, so we gotta solder, put a little flux right there, and we'll clean our tip, we'll tin our iron, and where did our hole go? Oh, boy, it is easy to forget where your hole is. Oh, here it is. I see it now. Right here. So we'll heat this lead right here, put a little solder on there. And see how we get a nice clean solder joint right there? Now we'll put a little flux on this one. And we'll get right on there and we'll just take it off. I'm not going to leave all that flux on there. I'll clean my tip, tin my iron. And what I'll do is I'm going to push up on this capacitor here and bring that lead up. See how the lead came up? And now we can, and see how I'm going to just touch the solder joint just a little bit more, not a lot. Get a little more solder on there so we have two nice clean solder joints here. Now we have one more capacitor we got to put in. It goes right up here. So we take our minus and we'll put it in. We try to spread the legs a little bit here so we can fit it in the holes. Okay, right there it fits in the holes. So we can put it in the holes here. And we'll just push it down in. We'll stand it over. Our leads are nice and long, so we can bend them over a little bit so it stays in place like that. We'll get a little flux here. We'll put some on our component and the pad there. Again, some more on over here. Now I'll bring the camera right down close so you can see it. Okay, we'll clean our tip. We'll tin our iron a little bit here. And we'll lead the pad and the lead, get some nice clean solder joint in there. Then we'll come over here, where's our other lead is right here, so I'll solder it from this side. See how we get a really nice clean solder joint here and here? Okay, now we have a resistor we got to put in here. This is a larger component. I'm going to just straighten my leads here a little bit. Make sure they're nice and straight so when I put them in the holes. Okay, so they go in this hole right here. So a resistor is not polarized, so you can put it in either way. So we'll just stick it in our hole like this here. Set it in like that. We'll flip it over. And there's our two leads we have to solder, and I'll bring the camera down close. And it's going to go right here. So I'll bring the camera down close. Okay, so we're going to put a little flux on our solder wire. Now this is a thicker lead, so we're going to use the thicker wire here. So we're going to get our flux around our terminal here. Get a little over here. Clean our tip. We'll tin our iron. We'll heat the lead and the pad. Just get a little solder on there. See how I get a nice clean solder joint? Now I'll just reach under here and I'll push the resistor up so our lead, see how our lead came up? Heat the lead. Get a nice clean solder joint. See how, whoop, now that's a little grainy there. So what you do when it's grainy is you just take a little flux. Now it's still kind of hot, warm, so this flux will melt in there a little bit. So I'll take and put some around it there. And we'll just touch it again with our iron and it'll be nice and shiny. And there it is. I'm going to touch that again up a little bit because it's still a little grainy, so I'll take our flux here. I'll get it all around that joint there. Now when I touch it, it'll be nice and clean. There it is. See how nice and clean that is? Okay, we're going to solder some wires into the circuit board here. we'll strip our wires here. Okay, we'll take our wires, we'll twist our strands together here. We'll dip them in the flux. Clean our iron, put some solder on our tip, and we'll tin our wires. So we have two nicely tinned wires. And we'll put it in the holes, or we'll put the copper one where it says plus, and the silver one where it says minus. See the plus and minus down in here? So you put the copper colored wire where it says plus. And the silver colored wire where it says minus. We're in a tricky spot here, but we're going to get them in there. Okay, so we'll turn this board over and we'll solder our wires into our pads, and I'll bring the camera down. So again, we'll take a little flux, we'll put it on our solder here. You can use the thicker wire because this is a thicker pad here. So we'll get some flux all around here. We'll heat our wire in the pad. So we got a nice clean solder joint there. I'll clip our leads off so you can see underneath there. Okay, now we're going to get our other plus and minus ready to go. So we'll twist our wires here, get our strands together. Get them twisted nice and tight there. Dip them in the flux. Clean our tip. Put some solder on our iron here. See how I get a nice tin there? Okay, we get our red wire, copper wire where it says plus, and our silver wire where it says minus. Okay, so here we have our wires we're going to be soldering right there. Looks like we're going to have a little debris in here, so you got to take your brush, get all the dust out of there. We'll get a little flux around here. Some over here. Make sure I get it all around, so when I solder it I get a nice clean solder joint here. Again, this is rosin core solder I'm using. So I clean my tip, tin my iron, heat the pad and the wire, get our solder. See how I get a nice clean solder joint on both sides there? Alright, so I get a nice clean solder joint here. Okay, now I'll clip my leads off so you can take a closer look at them here. This can be all cleaned off with alcohol when it's done in a brush. Okay, we have a capacitor we have to replace right here. We're going to just heat the make sure I get the right ones. It's right here. Should be right here and here. Okay, now we'll use our solder pump to unplug these holes here. Okay, we'll finish cleaning it out. As you can see, my tip is bad right here, so I have to turn my iron off. We'll just grab it back here gently. We'll just take this off. See how that tip is all ruined? I'll take it out. Oh, that's coming out hard. Just pull it off gently like that. You take your new one, slide it on like that. Take this piece here. Now when you tighten this, you don't tighten it very tight, you just gently tighten it. It's not very tight. And we'll just turn our iron back on. Okay, so we can flux our terminal there that we pumped out. We had a little flux around here. I want to make sure I get some flux touching. There it is. And for this one we'll use our smaller soldering wire here because it's a smaller lead. Tin our iron. Get our component. Get a little solder in there. Same with this one here. Heat the lead and the component, put a little solder in there. So I get a nice clean joint there on both of them. And when we're all done, we'll put some solder on our tip here to save it.